like to call on Father Rigobert Binana Bihuzo, who comes from the Congo, but who is currently living in Kenya. He is a Jesuit, a founder of the Jeremy Group, which works in terms of raising awareness among populations as to peace issues, but also climate issues. Thank you. Thank you very much. Donc, why do I care and why should we worry? Well, the debate on climate change has been confiscated over the last few years by experts at the service of private interests and governments. And they approach the question in such a way that we mask the difficulties of taking seriously the danger that global warming is giving the planet. It is also a question of the human beings who are victims of the phenomena, this is to say the poor. And the consequences, forecastable consequences are in fact thoroughly documented, and they demand mobilization on the part of all, especially when it comes to human resources, but also spiritual resources. This is why we are here today, because we need to go as far as we can and no longer be in agreement with an approach which does not take into account the human. Today, we have a major challenge, and the question is urgent, and the moment is grave. No one can remain indifferent. Pope Francis has discussed this question on conscience when he refers to the resistance we see in certain international negotiations. We've heard this in Paris as well. We've heard that people who place their national interests above the interests of the common good will have to answer for it, to answer for those who suffer from the consequences in the future. So you will thus understand that since I come from Africa, I am trying to bring you back to where you began, because humanity was born in Africa. And I would like to also give a voice to the millions of inaudible voices which will be affected tomorrow, because unfortunately they have been relegated to the periphery of a debate, which of course involves them in every respect. So as we await for the COP21 summit, we are mobilizing both as a church and in civil society and among the population. We are mobilizing in order to ask for three things. First is that we must need mandatory measures. And considering a consensus, clearly this will be difficult. At least governments, however, will have a difficulty with this. So the second aspect is to have a differentiated approach. That is to say, Africa should not pay the price of those who have been polluting the world for the last 100 years. And third, we need political and legal mechanisms which will be mandatory for all. Now, I would thus like to suggest two actions. First, in order to save forests in the Congo Basin, and I would like to give you 6 reasons why this is important. We cannot win this fight of global warming if we do not focus or zoom into what everybody today is calling the second lung of humanity. This area today is first of all the place where 80 million people live, and it is also the second largest forest next to the Amazon, and one of the biggest, and this is one of the major tropical forests on the planet. We have 10,000 species of plants and many other species of animals and mammals. It is essential to save humanity because humanity is generating the oxygen that we all breathe. as do the animals. So this is playing an irreplaceable role because this is the place where climate is regulated. Most of precipitation in Africa is generated right there. And it determines the slowing of global warming because it stores carbon. And finally, and this is not the least of our issues, it also provides food for millions of people and a pharmacopoeia for our populations, and of course drinkable water as well. So I would like to conclude, because I can see that our time master is right next to me here. Let me talk about water here, because as we well know, today we are paying for we have a fight for the control of water, and thus it is important as well to recall that we cannot fight against climate change if we do not look at the dangers that threaten populations which do not have access to drinkable water, and my continent is in that situation. So thus, in order to conclude, I would like to quote the Pope once again by saying, with respect to water, that this particularly serious problem is the quality of water available to the poor, which basically is leading to illnesses. Illnesses due to poor water are very common among the poor, and it is basically also a cause of suffering and infant mortality. So the quality of available water has an increasing tendency in certain areas of being privatized, its resources being privatized and transformed into a commodity, depriving the poor. Thank you very much.